Good morning, everybody. We are talking photography basics. This video is for you if you just got a mirrorless camera or a DSLR camera and you want to start shooting in manual mode. Shooting in manual mode allows you to take control of your camera settings. In auto, the camera chooses what it thinks the best settings are. I'm going to go over the three main components you need to know to shoot in manual mode, and that is shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. I'm going to break these down individually so you can understand how to properly use them, but I also want you to know that each one can affect the other. If you change your shutter speed, you might also need to adjust your aperture or ISO to reflect that change. Let's start with shutter speed. This refers to the length of time that your shutter is open for. When you press the shutter button on your camera to take a picture, you can adjust how long that shutter opens. The longer it's open for, more light will be let in, and of course, the shorter it's open for, less light is getting in. Let's say, for example, you're trying to get a photo of somebody running. If your shutter is open for too long, because that person is in motion, they're going to end up blurry. In order to correct that and reduce the blur, you're going to need a very fast shutter speed. With that fast shutter speed, you're going to be letting less light in, so you might need to adjust your aperture and ISO accordingly, but we'll get into that in a minute. The term long exposure refers to the shutter being open for an extended period of time. Let's say you wanted to get a picture of a silky smooth waterfall. The amount of time you're going to want your shutter to be open for is going to depend on how fast the water is moving, but to start, you might want to try somewhere between 1 and 10 seconds. When your camera is letting light in for that long, you may need to apply a filter, but we're not going to get into that in this video. The term aperture refers to how wide your lens is opening. The lower the number for aperture, the wider the opening, and the higher the number means the narrower the opening. This is another way to adjust how much light is getting to your camera's sensor. A lower number can help with low light photography. I can't mention aperture without mentioning depth of field. A wider aperture will result in a shallower depth of field, and a higher aperture will result in a deeper depth of field. A shallow depth of field is best for portrait photography as it will allow the subject to be in focus and the background to be blurred. Different lenses will often have a sweet spot with aperture that will result in a sharper image. Usually this can be somewhere between 8 and 11. Lastly, ISO. ISO refers to the camera's sensitivity to light. A higher ISO will make the camera more sensitive to light. This will allow you to take images in lower lighting conditions, but it will also add grain and noise to the image, which will reduce image quality. Generally speaking, you'd like your ISO value to be as low as it can be. Unlike aperture and shutter speed, ISO will not change or control the amount of light that's getting to your camera's sensor. I hope you found this helpful and can get out and practice what you've learned. There's no one best way to do things, so be creative and change up your settings. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Depending on the reactions of this video, I might make a longer video that goes into more detail. That's all for now. See you next time.